Alright guys, welcome to Flav Oriana's MMA show. I'm your host Flav Oriana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Alright guys, it has been 2 weeks since I've last seen you guys. Man, what a 2 weeks it has been, and we just concluded UFC 271 between Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker. Alright, good card overall. Alright, there was a couple of changes that were made. We ended up having Alexander Hernandez versus Renato Moicano added to the main card. Kyler Phillips and Marcelo Rojo ended up getting dropped to the prelims. But there was a bunch of good fights on this card. But I wanted to talk to you guys about, we'll start off with the main event. So the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker, all right? Adesanya trying to go for his fourth title defense, right? Made his first title defense against Yoel Romero. Well, actually, he beat Whittaker the first time to get the belt. Beat Yoel to defend the belt. Then he ended up beating Paulo Costa in 2021 in September. That was the Jan Blachowicz Dominic Reyes fight. And then we ended up getting Marvin Vettori in June of last year, right? And now he was making his fourth title defense. All right, so very, to me, Adesanya is very, very difficult to beat at 185. Going to 205, different story. I think that he's a lot, not saying easier, but it's more likely you'll be able to catch him just because the guys are heavier at 205 as opposed to 185, all right? But, Whittaker, Adesanya, all right, there's a rivalry between there. New Zealand versus Australia. Whittaker from Australia. Izzy is from New Zealand, who has Nigerian roots. I gotta say, guys, good main event. Was it the main event that I thought we were gonna get, like how it was the first time around? No, just because Whittaker knew what he did was wrong. He ended up charging too much at Adesanya. He was trying to, just try to knock his head off, and you just can't do that type of stuff. We've seen that before with Paulo Costa, and he ended up getting dropped. Vettori, which had taken a wrestling approach because that's what Jan Blachowicz ended up doing, and you saw Adesanya making the proper adjustments. He wasn't going to try to be taken down again and then being held down. Like I said before, at 205 it's easier. Those guys are heavier. Blachowicz, in my opinion, he could possibly fight at heavyweight, right? But he cuts down to 205 because wants to be faster, stronger, and stuff like that. And he was able to, hold down Izzy down in rounds 3, 4, and 5 when they fought each other back in March of last year. Izzy, going to the fight against Whittaker, clearly won round 1, all right, ended up dropping Whittaker. And then Whittaker, made the adjustments. I gave round 2 to Whittaker. Whittaker was really trying to utilize that wrestling. He went for the takedowns. He was utilizing the jab. Round 3, I gave it to Izzy. Izzy was just chopping away at that leg. That lead leg looked like hamburger meat, in my opinion. It was just all bruised up. It was turning pink and stuff like that. My problem with Whittaker was he was way too heavy on that lead leg, more of a boxing approach. He was using mainly his left hand. He wasn't really using his right hand. I was thinking about it, throughout the fight. I'm thinking, you know what? The fact that Whittaker is mainly using his left hand instead of his right hand, it was mainly out of fear. Because the last time we ended up seeing Whittaker fight Adesanya, what ended up happening, he tried throwing an overhand right hand, and then ended up leaving his whole right side open, getting clipped, dropping him in the second round, and then Adesanya, going for the ground and pound, and then capturing the middleweight title. And then since then, Adesanya hasn't looked back in the middleweight division, and then you see where he's at right now. Round 4. Close round, but I gave it to Adesanya. All right, Adesanya was just fighting within range. He was doing everything that he needed supposed to do. I mean, he wasn't overcommitting. He was making sure that Whittaker was being pressured, waiting for Whittaker to make a mistake. Attacking the lead leg, using kicks, using his jab. I mean, Whittaker wasn't really doing much in that aspect of trying to have Izzy overcommit and then trying to catch him. And then in round 5, you were able to see Whittaker use more of his grappling, use more of his takedowns and stuff like that. Adesanya has definitely improved in his takedown defense, and also from being able to get up from a takedown. So, and there was a point in time where I'm thinking like, all right, Whitaker jumps on the back of Adesanya. He's trying to go for a rear naked chokehold, but then Adesanya ends up, using his left hand, to get away from the hook, evading the rear naked chokehold and forcing Whitaker to sandal him, which is not something that Whitaker wanted to do. Whitaker did take a decent amount of jabs, but Whitaker did pressure. He did have Izzy against the cage numerous times in the clinch. Was using the left jab. He clipped him once outside of a grapple exchange, and I gave round 5 to Whitaker. Overall, it was a 3-2, three rounds to 2. Adesanya 48-47 in my book. All right, there was one judge that gave it 49-46. I understand why he may have chose 49-46, but that's not what I saw. I saw round 2 clearly went to Whitaker. Round 5 went to Whitaker. Rounds 1, 3, and 4 clearly went to Adesanya. A couple of fighters ended up chiming in, like Justin Gaethje said rounds 3, 4, and 5 went to Whitaker. I don't know what fight he was watching. All right, I understand that from a tactical standpoint, Adesanya was just winning rounds by points and stuff like that. And Whitaker was trying to grapple. He did take him down a couple of times throughout the fight, but he was never able to fully have him down and to be able to say, hey, I definitely won this round. Unlike round 5. Round 5, he held him down. He was able to, have him against the cage, But overall, I felt like if you're gonna try to play it close, you're never gonna win the title. All right, you're gonna have to knock out the champ. You're gonna have to win dominantly, sort of like how Kamaru Usman did against Tyron Woodley in order to get the belt. Because otherwise, if it's close, they're gonna give it to the champ, and that's just how it works. All right, in order to beat the champ, you gotta be able to beat the champ. And Whitaker was not able to beat Adesanya. All right. So what's next? Well, unfortunately, it seems like Robert Whittaker is going to take the role of what Caitlin Chukagian is. He's going to have to knock out all these potential contenders who's going to try to face Adesanya. Adesanya is good, guys. He is very good. He, in my opinion, there's the rest. All right, then there's Robert Whittaker, and then there's Israel Adesanya. But I felt like Robert Whittaker last night ended up closing the gap a little bit. But there's levels to this. I think that Adesanya is the king, of the 185 division. I don't think that there's going to be anybody right now that comes up to my mind right now that's going to be able to knock him down from his throne. Adesanya, I could see him winning, 3, 4, 5 fights in a row. More on top of the win streak that he has at middleweight, and him making about 6, 7, possibly 8 title defenses before we see somebody later down the line having a true chance of possibly beating Adesanya. But Adesanya, his next opponent, I'll talk about this in a little bit. But for Whittaker, I think that the fights to clearly make sense is him and Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori is trying to get back to a title shot. So it only makes sense that the two people that lost to Marvin Vettori do face one another to see, if they're one more fight away from possibly returning for another trip, a third time facing Israel Adesanya. All right. I'm going to skip the co-main event, and I'll talk to that in just a little bit. But I want to talk about the other middleweight fight that we had on the main card, which was Derrick Brunson versus Jared Cannonier. Now, this is a fight that I wanted to stay away from just because Derrick Brunson, collegiate wrestler, very good wrestler. He's going to be relentless on trying to take you down and then hold you down and try to, beat you down. It's like similar to the way that he ended up doing with Edmund Shabazian. Jared Cannonier, former heavyweight, then went down to light heavyweight, and then went down to middleweight. Ever since going down to middleweight, he has been dominating, opponents, right? He's been defeating your Kelvin Gastelums of the world. He lost to Robert Whittaker, all right, but he's had a tougher road as opposed to he also beat I believe it was Darren Till, if I'm not mistaken. He had a tougher road as opposed to Derrick Brunson. Derrick Brunson defeated your Ian Heinishes of the world, who has never been anybody, in my opinion, that's worth top 15. He beat a Kelvin Gastelum. No, not Kelvin Gastelum. He beat Darren Till, who had a torn ACL. Beat Kevin Holland, who naturally should be a 170 pounder. Beat Edmund Shabazian, who at that point we were thinking this guy had a bright future, but this guy can't, get out of his own way. He struggles against wrestlers, and Brunson is on the path of fighting for the belt. Same thing with Cannonier. The winner of this was most likely going to get the title shot. And in round one, Brunson was really going for the takedowns, wasn't stopping at all. He wasn't getting discouraged when Cannonier was able to stuff a couple of takedowns. Was able to take down Cannonier twice, I believe, in the first round. And then in the closing seconds of round one, Brunson did catch Cannonier. He drops him, goes for the rear naked chokehold, and Cannonier luckily survives. I honestly thought that Cannonier was going to tap out. There was 7 seconds left. His coach, Coach Couch ended up yelling out to Cannonier, 7 seconds left, 7 seconds left. Cannonier just held it together for those few final seconds just to get past round one. Going into round two, I did see Derrick Brunson look extremely tired, constantly going for takedowns, trying to, attack Cannonier with taking him down and then trying to muscle him and try to, contain him. But Cannonier was able to evade. There was a point in time where Cannonier did catch Brunson with a right hook, and I felt like that was the beginning of the end. A few minutes later, they go into an exchange. Brunson is trying to get out of the grappling exchange, the clinch, and Cannonier ends up hitting him with a right hook, and then comes back with that backhand and staggers Brunson, and then Cannonier rushes. Hits him with a body kick, takes him down, hits him with an elbow shot, and hits him with like 3 more ground and pound elbows, where Herb Dean has to stop the fight, and there you have it. Jared Cannonier knocks out Derrick Brunson. Derrick Brunson's team ended up throwing in the white towel, but it was too late at that point because Brunson was out cold. He was out for the count, and Brunson, I had never seen Brunson, knocked out cold like that. He ate, 3 or 4 elbow shots to the face? And I'm thinking, geez, man, those elbow shots were just vicious. And this is going from Cannonier. Remember, a former heavyweight. He fought at heavyweight to start off his UFC career, went down all the way down to middleweight. So Cannonier has power, right? So what's next for these both individuals? In my humble opinion, I think the fight to make is Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. I think Jared Cannonier is something that Israel Adesanya wants to see. Fresh new blood. They never fought each other. All right. You want to keep the division moving. Cannonier, I think he is due for a title shot. Lost to Whitaker back in 2020, October of 2020. But he came back. He ended up facing Gaslam. He ended up winning a couple of fights. And he is right now back on track onto, let's see if it becomes official for June. I mean, there's no main event for June as of yet, but seeing Adesanya versus Cannonier would be a fight I would love to see happen. I don't think it's gonna happen for that July card, although it should actually. I wouldn't mind to see Usman versus Leon Edwards and Adesanya versus Cannonier on the same card. That would be a hellacious type of a card for International Fight Week, but we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, Cannonier versus Adesanya, it seems like the fight to make. As for Derrick Brunson, well, the man is 38. I don't know how much more time he's going to end up fighting. I think that he maybe have 1 or 2 more fights left. I believe he is still trying to fight for a title. I think if he wants to fight for a title, he's going to have to face maybe Jack Hermanson or Sean Strickland. I think if he fights one of those 2 fighters, I think that, that'll put him 1 fight closer to fighting for a title, but I'm not 100% sure. Just because that loss really did hurt him, and I don't know how much more time left he wants to keep on fighting. Co-main event, we had Tai Tuivasa versus Derrick Lewis, 2 fan favorites. Guys, I didn't want neither one to lose, all right? But you knew when this fight was made, somebody was going to go down, somebody was going to get knocked out, and we did get a knockout in the second round. I did think it was going to happen in the first round, but they weren't swinging and banging like they were assuming that they were going to end up doing in the first round. It took a little bit of time. It went into the second round. First round, Derrick Lewis and Tai Tuivasa, they went to a clinch. Lewis ends up having Tai Tuivasa his back against the cage, takes him down with an inside trip, which was great, footwork, a great move by Derrick Lewis. Lewis takes him down, hits him with ground and pound as Tai Tuivasa's, trying to get up. Look, guys, the normal heavyweight would have been knocked down with that ground and pound damage that Tuivasa ended up taking in from Derrick Lewis. But Tuivasa said, I'm not taking this anymore. Starts swinging and banging with him. Round 1 goes to Derrick Lewis. And then in round 2, Lewis became a bit more aggressive. Tai Tuivasa realized, okay, he was able to feel what it is to get hit by Derrick Lewis. I guess he was a little bit more comfortable after he realized, okay, I can handle this type of power. Swinging and banging. Tai Tuivasa was able to connect with Derrick Lewis's chin, has him against the cage, hits him with an elbow shot, hits him then with another elbow shot, and then puts Derrick Lewis out cold, landing face first, similar to how Dominic Reyes ended up getting knocked out. And we have a winner, Tai Tuivasa, winning the co-main event. Bam Bam moves on. The Tuivasa's, celebration goes wild. Okay. Bam Bam was ranked number 11. Derrick Lewis ranked number 3. All right. I don't know what's going to happen for Bam Bam. I would say, in my humble opinion, this guy is already on a 4-5 fight win streak. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if I see Tuivasa fight for an interim title belt against Stipe Miocic. All right. I thought that I'm sorry, not Stipe Miocic. I wouldn't be surprised if I see, because of the injury of Francis Ngannou, all right, I could see Tai Tuivasa fighting John Jones, all right? And here's why I say that. John Jones is not going to fight for nothing less than a title, all right? He's earned that right. He had multiple title defenses at light heavyweight. He is one of the greatest of all time, all right? I am really starting to think that Tuivasa versus Stipe is not going to happen. I can see the UFC putting in Tai Tuivasa versus John Jones. All right, it's not Derrick Lewis versus John Jones, which is something that I would have loved to have seen. But I see something of the nature of, like, Tai Tuivasa has been getting a major push in the heavyweight division. All right, everybody's booked. Rosenstrike is booked. Dawkins and Blaze, that's in the end up happening. All right, Alexander Volkov, that's in the end up. He's already gonna have a fight booked. All right, Tom Aspinall. I think Volkov and Aspinall are gonna be fighting each other in that London card. All these guys are booked, all right? The only fights to make is, in my opinion, if you put Tuivasa versus Stipe, or you put Tuivasa versus or John Jones. I think Cyril Gane, I don't think he's going to be fighting anytime soon, in my opinion. And I can't see the UFC putting him back for another interim title fight. As for Derrick Lewis, well, he lost to Cyril Gane, so there's no point of putting him there. The only other fight that I see happening is Derrick Lewis versus Stipe Miocic. There's a fight that Derrick Lewis has been wanting to have. It's been brought up to Dana White's attention right there. I see Lewis versus Stipe happening. Stipe, I don't think he's going to get a title shot, and I think he's going to have to work for it. Going to have to fight another fight in order to get closer to a title shot. And look, I understand it's supposed to be meritocracy, but unfortunately, it doesn't really exist when it comes with the UFC. But yeah, guys, those are the big 3 fights I wanted to talk to you guys about. All right, we had some good fights with Casey O'Neill versus Roxanne Ferry. Very glad that Casey O'Neill, King Casey, ended up going undefeated and still undefeated, ends up winning a split decision. I don't know what that judge was looking at, because Roxanne Ferry, even though she was landing some punches and stuff like that, Casey O'Neill outstruck her in every single one of those 3 rounds, landing and even breaking a record for most significant strikes in the women's flyweight division in a single fight. Casey O'Neill was just a bad woman at that time, all right, in that fight, and she was in it for a war. And I loved her post-fight interview saying that if you want me to be the bad guy, I'll be the bad guy. And then she ended up saying F you to the fans because the fans are booing her. Love that type of energy, guys. Can't wait to see what's going to happen with King Casey in her next fight. But yeah, guys, that's what ended up happening for UFC 271. UFC 271 is in the books this Saturday coming up. We're going to have Jamal Hill versus Johnny Walker. Rafael Dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev got moved to March 5th. That's going to be the co-main event for that pay-per-view. But yeah, guys, can't wait to see you guys soon. All right, until then, guys, I am Flavio Ariana. Guys, please enjoy your Sunday. All right, I know it's Super Bowl Sunday. Until then, guys, I'll see you guys later. Peace, guys, and have a good one. See you guys.